What up, though, Panthers Nation? It's Aaron Duncan here, bringing you an update for the team on the offseason. Pre-free agency moves the team has been making has been very, very interesting lately over the past few days and even a week. We're going to start from the top and cover everything, but if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I'm on top of these offseason updates, and you know the offseason is when we get into the thick of it, and I'm on this grind to get to 20K subscribers. You're not going to get the coverage anywhere else like you're going to get here, man. So I promise you, please hit that subscribe button. It will be worth your while. But, of course, let's start at the top. OG, triple OG, long snapper, JJ Jansen was signed to a 1-year deal. Now, we know JJ Jansen has been the longest tenured Carolina Panther of all time, one of the longest tenured players in the league currently. So we're bringing him around. I know some people are a little upset about bringing back the old guy and it's like a part of the old regime, but I mean, JJ Jansen's also been a part of Super Bowl teams. So it is what it is. I don't think it's anything. I think it's harmless. 1, he's a long snapper. 2, he actually still plays very, very well. 3, it's a long snapper. And JJ is dependable. He's reliable. He's consistent. He's not expensive. And it's a long snapper. So I don't think there's really anything to get upset about. We're here with the JJ Jansen signing. I'm good with keeping him around as long as he wants to play. It doesn't seem like he's going to actually fall off. Like, how do long snappers fall off? It's more of a factor of when does he want to hang it up? And he wants to keep going. So let's run it back one more year with JJ Jansen. We'll see what the future holds from there. But also want to remind you guys, please give the video a thumbs up as we keep rocking on these next topics. It really helps me out in the algorithm with engagement and stuff like that. But the next point was Andy Dalton has been signed to a new deal. Yes, Andy Dalton is 38 years old, another OG, triple OG, but bringing him back seemed like the smart thing to do. As a vet, he's been real helpful for Bryce. Of course, he was the mentor early on. Now they've turned to good friends. We saw him have to be Johnny on the spot this year for a stretch. And I think that he wasn't just helpful for Bryce. He was helpful for Dave Canales. I know obviously Andy had that one good game against the Raiders. It kind of tapered off from there at times. But to me, Andy Dalton's going to be as good as the weapons you put around him. Pretty much what you expect from a backup quarterback. He's going to run the offense, going to get rid of the football. He's going to try not to make mistakes. I just have no issue with bringing back Andy Dalton. I know there's potential of people thinking that maybe, hey, we draft the guy because we hear about, hey, you should draft the quarterback every so-and-so years. Maybe, maybe not. But bringing back Andy Dalton for another 2-year deal seemed like harmless to me. 2 years, $8 million. The cap hit in the first year is going to be $3 million. Second year is going to be $5 million. And I think they added a void year on here, the final year, just to kind of lower the cap hit, which is going to be a cap hit of $1 million. But again, Andy Dalton, I think, was pretty pivotal last year to help Bryce Young, just for him to sit back and watch how a vet runs the offense, gets rid of the football, does a lot of pre-snap processing and work there, get that done. That way you can get rid of the ball. And I think it helped Bryce Young, but I think it helped Dave Canales because having a vet that's seen a lot of different systems, played a lot of football, paired with an offensive coordinator like Dave Canales, play caller like Dave Canales, who hasn't had a lot of time on task, being in only his second year calling plays, first year as a head coach doing it. I think it exposed some flaws in the system. I talked about it in my previous Panther Banter podcast. Be sure to check the link in the description to catch up on all those episodes where I talked about how there were some flaws in Dave Canales' system in terms of answers for pressure and blitzes when they come. So I think Andy Dalton being there, just playing, but also giving feedback, helped shape the system around Bryce Young going forward and just putting in and stuff, finding some flaws and shortcomings that might have been there for Dave Canales. So I think he brought value all around, and having continuity again with Andy, who's coming back, I think it's a good thing. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about Andy Dalton being back. Are you one of the top ones that wanted to bring in some fresh meat, fresh blood, wanted to draft the quarterback? I know some of you are praying for Bryce Young's downfall, so you might have wanted us to draft the guy and hopefully he turned into Brock Purdy. Let me know how you feel down below about Andy Dalton returning. So free agency hasn't even started, but things are starting to heat up for the Carolina Panthers. And I know Valentine's Day may have passed, but maybe things are heating up for you in your love life. And I'm not going to get too deep into that because, of course, maybe you got you a new boo or something on Valentine's Day. But with things heating up, you have to make sure you're smelling good. So, of course, I got to tell you about my guys at Mando who provides the whole body deodorant. Whether you're in a 10-year committed relationship or going on the first date, you can't be caught slipping. Having Mando is a non-negotiable because you need to be smelling good and feeling good going into that date. Now, I've been telling y'all about Mando because it's an all body deodorant. Now, we traditionally put this stuff on underneath our armpits, but if you're a grown man like me, sometimes you get a little sweaty on your pits, nips, and your naughty bits. Of course, Mando is clinically proven to block odor at the source for up to 72 hours. And I'm telling y'all, if you're new to it and you want to try it out, the starter pack is perfect for you. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like maybe the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Because your brother like me, I love me some free shipping. And of course, as a special offer for my listeners, I'm partnering with Mando. New customers get $5 off their starter pack with exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack order. Use code BluntnessSports at checkout. Of course, Bluntness Sports at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support the show. Tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Check down below in the description for the link to access. But today, the big news, the salary cap renaissance, I guess as you would like to say. The Panthers made a move to cut cornerback Dane Jackson. Yes, Dane Jackson, who was signed last year as a free agent, that was a former 7th round pick of the Buffalo Bills, famously was scouted by Dan Morgan, who pounded the table for him to be drafted during his time back in Buffalo. He was cut from the Carolina Panthers. This move saves $3.5 million against the cap. Is going to be $2.5 million in dead cap space, but obviously the cap savings was worth it for the Carolina Panthers. This was a guy that potentially was a name that we floated around talking about he could get cut, and they did it. And $3.5 million will be added to the Panther salary cap. Now, Dane was injured in preseason, if you remember. He got hurt during training camp, if I'm not mistaken. A very, very bad hamstring injury that placed him on injured reserve, meaning he was going to miss the first month or so of the season. And with us drafting Shaw Smith-Wade, obviously having J.C. Horn, things were looking slim pickings in that cornerback room, and that sparked the Panthers to make that trade with the Seattle Seahawks and go get Mike Jackson. Of course, Mike Jackson was very, very solid for us. Mike Jackson started and played all 17 games. He was Johnny on the spot. He got traded for like a few weeks before week 1. Ended up starting that game and played fairly well all year. He'll be a free agent now, probably boosted his value. He's a very, very big fan of Dave Canales. Maybe he'll be back if they want to bring him back, because this cornerback class in terms of free agency and the draft is a little top heavy, obviously, with Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, but with the Panthers needing so much help in the trenches, it may be smart thing to run it back with Mike Jackson, who was a capable starter. Was familiar with the system now with another year underneath him, and just have him there. But regardless, having Mike Jackson play that well made Dane Jackson expendable this offseason. I know a lot of Panthers fans are just like, good riddance to Dane Jackson. Unfortunately, some bad memories in our brain from the Giants game that they let Daniel Jones do some things that he probably had no business doing, but also the dreaded Pat Mahomes scramble that he kind of just awkwardly stood around there. And people beat him up for it, but had we tackled Mahomes on that play, it would have been what? First down from the 45-yard line with 30 seconds left. Knowing how our defense is, the game was going to be lost anyway. But fans, that's just a play that's kind of branded into fans' brain. Regardless, he is out of there. And so now we're going to probably continue to make these moves. I think we talked about the common sense moves, like obviously Miles Sanders and then potentially Shy Tuttle. Stay tuned for those things coming up next to create more cap space. But as of right now, according to Over the Cap, the Carolina Panthers have $28.8 million in cap space. That's before, obviously, any other moves they've made. That's including Andy Dalton, J.J. Jansen, and the cutting of Dane Jackson. So as of right now, that's where we are. This number will continue to change as they make those moves that I mentioned, potentially coming soon, and maybe even more. The other quick thing to note is that the NFL announced the official salary cap number. So based on what projections were on the Over the Cap website, it was a little bit higher than they initially projected. So From what I understand, it's almost a net nothing because, of course, certain franchise tag numbers and other things that are based off of the percentage of the salary cap is going to go up anyway. But it's nice to get another $4 million on the salary cap. So the numbers that we're looking at on Over the Cap are including that newest NFL salary cap update, plus all the moves the Carolina Panthers have made. But that brings us to the final topic, because according to Mike K of the Charlotte Observer, shout out to my guy Mike, he tweeted out, and of course Over the Cap was the source for this as well. The Panthers have pushed back Austin Corbett's void deadline on his contract to March 11th. Over the Cap had the initial report, but the pushback gives Carolina and Corbett more time to negotiate a new deal. While it doesn't guarantee anything, a new deal could also help save the Panthers cap space before the new league year, so something worth monitoring. Now, this is very, very interesting to me because obviously I'm just a simple man, but I don't know if I heard anybody else mention the potential of bringing this guy back. Austin Corbett obviously has been hurt the last 3 years, has not completed a season, but when he's been on the field, he's been very, very valuable. Obviously, he had two knee injuries in the prior 2 years, but this past year, all he had was a bicep tear. Bicep tear is not anything lower limb that would typically cause somebody to like fall off, but the injury happened in October, and he was playing pretty well. According to PFF, Austin Corbett had a rating of 62.9 overall grade and only had one penalty and one sack allowed over 187 pass block snaps. Only allowed 3 pressures total over those 187 pass block snaps. So very, very effective. And the continuity we had with the running game, you guys know what we were able to do on the ground with Chuba having a career year. Austin Corbett was a mainstay and a main cog for that, switching to center for the first time. And there were questions about if he could do it, but he pretty much stepped up. The only issue was the injuries, and that showed its head yet again. But according to what they were talking about, the void year, the league year starts, what does it start? Like March 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And so once that league year starts, that's when all the bonuses kick in. That's when contracts count against the books for 2025. But then pushing that deadline back, it's like, hey, this salary won't go into effect until whenever. But you may say, Aaron, what salary? He's a free agent. Remember, he signed that deal initially when we met him for the Rams. They've done a bunch of restructures, and part of those restructures are adding void years. Now, void years are pretty much just dummy years on the contract, because when you sign a contract, when you get a signing bonus, you spread the signing bonus over that life. That way, everything doesn't hit the cap at once. Just to give you high level, let's say Austin Corbett signed a 3-year deal and he got a $15 million signing bonus. So instead of $15 million, which he gets all at once, instead of that counting against the salary cap all at once, you spread out over 3 years. So $5 million the first year, $5 million the second year, $5 million the third year. You keep it up. And so what you can do with void years is you can add dummy years to the end of the contract and spread that signing bonus out even more, doing that to save more cap space. And so when you restructure deals, when they talk about kicking the can, that's what happens. So when we kicked the can on Austin Corbett's salary a couple times, and the dead money that was going to be on the books because of a void year was $7.7 million. So even though Austin Corbett was going to be a free agent and not on the team, because he signed that void year, he is going to count against the books at $7.7 million. So I didn't even think about this because he was playing well. He didn't have a significant injury to his legs or anything that would cause him to lose a step or strength or anything. And obviously he's a leader. Yes, he's 30-something years old. But if Austin Corbett is going to count against the books anyway, why not just bring him back? And the beautiful thing about void years, if you have void years there, the only way to mitigate the void years is, instead of making a dummy year, you use the dummy year to create a real contract. So since he's under the contract of a void year for 1 year deal for $7 million, actually Austin Corbett has 2 void years. So instead of him having dead cap for $7.7 million this year and then having another void year after that, what the Panthers could do is sign him to a real deal. And so let's say you get him in a real deal, and since he's coming off of injuries, you can negotiate a lower number. $7 million is not anything to sneeze at for a center or starting center in this day and age, let alone somebody that's coming off of 3 seasons of injuries in a row. So if the Panthers feel like they can negotiate a deal with Austin Corbett to lower that, so maybe you sign him to a deal that's worth $3.5 million per year, they'll be able to get that $7 million cap hit down. So you're able to save money, get Austin Corbett, and then of course you still have Cade Mays. Cade Mays is a restricted free agent, so he can't negotiate with anybody else but you first. So you can ink Cade Mays to a moderate deal, sign Austin Corbett to a moderate deal, lower the cap space since he's going to be counting against the books anyway, and still go into the draft and draft a center of the future if you like. Because obviously Austin Corbett's 30 years old. Maybe you're not sold on Cade Mays because remember at one point you actually cut Cade Mays. You just had to bring him back because you needed center help, even though he played well down the stretch. But you have that type of room with depth, and then you can bring in your starting center maybe in the draft for the future, and he doesn't have to worry about being that day one starter. That way you have depth, you have competition, and of course Corbett and Mays can play center and guard if needed to. I think this is actually a smart idea overall. I know some people are like, why are we giving money to an injured guard? Well, guys, he's going to count against the cap anyway. You might as well get some work out of him as a player, and it kind of just makes sense because he's not like just damaged goods per se, because it was an upper body muscle injury. So I'm not overly concerned about that, and maybe that wasn't a huge red flag for the Panthers, but we'll see. And any type of money, when they only have $28 million in cap space, being able to save money anywhere you can is smart. And this is why we brought in Brant Tillis, because I sure as hell wouldn't have thought about actually bringing Austin Corbett back, but it's potentially on the table. So we'll monitor to see if they work out a deal. If they do work out a deal, it has to be before that March 11th league year starts. That way they can get that cap savings. So let's pay attention to that. And if it does happen, you guys know I'm going to update you and be on top of that. If any other cap moves happen as far as cuts, I will be here as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. But I really appreciate you guys watching. I know I said a lot of math and jargon about the Austin Corbett stuff. So if you have specific questions about it, leave it down below in the comments. I'll try to answer it up there. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I appreciate you guys watching yet again. I keep saying thank you. I'll see you next time. Peace.